We're holding Chafhei Mar Cheshvan, which is against the Kiddush Lamed Beis. And it begins with, this is also of course about tzedakah. And this Tigeres HaKedesh, the Alter Rebbe talks about two madregas in tzedakah. The first madrega of tzedakah is giving tzedakah, and the second madrega of tzedakah is making other people to give. Or, in other words, the first madrega of tzedakah is giving tzedakah by inspiration you get from others. And the second madrega of tzedakah is tzedakah that you give by inspiration that you create by yourself. And the Tigeres HaKedesh, the Alter Rebbe brings out the difference in the maila that's achieved through each one of these respective madregas of tzedakah. Baruch Hashem Chayla. They should strengthen their power, their strength. Upeil Yadam Yirtzeh, whatever they do, Hashem should find favor with. L'ratzei lehem lifnei ad Hashem tamid, they should be desired by the Eibishter all the time. Kayitein v'chayosev avaya, so should give and so should increase. You want to join us? The Eibishter, Lamed Beis. La'ametz libam, to strengthen their hearts by giberim amongst the mighty. Unediv al nedivas yakum. And generosity above generosity should stand up. And I think that the way you should read this is Nediv al nedivas yakum doesn't only mean people who give, but people who make givers give. Liyez gedoil hama'aseh, that it should be great, the one who is ma'aseh. Ma'as doesn't mean the one who gives, but the one who collects, who makes many give. V'chol ir minyan, in every city, in every shul, v'yischashav leila tzedakah, it should be considered for him, but the chashav leila tzedakah, it should be considered to him for an extra righteousness. And the Alter Rebbe says like this: Ba'al ha'oisen ne'emar, the one who gives tzedakah by himself, in other words, people inspire him and he therefore gives. The Torah says, his righteousness stands forever. It stands, it's feminine. It doesn't say it says it's feminine. In other words, it's a charity which was inspired by others, so it has a feminine quality, a makabel quality. That he receives an arousal in his pure heart from some other guy who is a pusher, who is a solicitor, who makes other people give. And nevertheless it stands forever. Even though it's just a feminine, it's a weak, so to speak, tzedakah, still it stands forever. Pirush just means all righteousness and kindness that the Jewish people do in this world, Hagashmit at physical, Sha'az, that then, whose man Gilil Kus, it's the time of revelation of godliness. And of course, in the revelation of godliness, which will be the love, there's two bechinas. There's a pnimis dika madrega, and then there's of course also the Ein Sof bechinas seviv kol almin. Ein Sof which comes from seviv, the infinite madrega velakus. Ve'elam hazeh ukmei shekaso barichat michtav d'ishtakid. As I wrote at length, says Alter Rebbe, in my letter from last year, and in the Shurim B'Sefer Tanya, he said this is the Tigeres HaKedesh Siman Tazayin. That when you give tzedakah, there's peiras be'elam hazeh, you have fruits now also, and the belig of all kenekem elam haba. Okay, v'tzarach li is kli umach, but you need a vessel and a seat. Leis slabish bei eidin sei baruch, in which Ein Sof should manifest. Kemei haguf l'neshama derech mashal. Just as the soul needs a body to come down, the tzedakah needs a vessel to be manifest. Now understand what he means. Every time you do a mitzvah, the Eibush does that mitzvah, and it brings down Ein Sof. But you need a kli to hold on to the Ein Sof. The pasuk says, the words of Eibush are compared to fire. Why are the words of Eibush compared to fire? It's simple. Ma'esh, just as fire. Eina me'ira be'el mazet cannot radiate in this planet. When it's held and manifest in a wick and so forth. So the same is true in mitzvahs. When you give tzedakah, the body and vessel for the Eibishter's light, it's the measure of kindness and the generosity of one's heart, to give and to flow life, to one who doesn't have anything of his own, like it says in Zayah. How many bodies, that means how many vessels did you create for the Eibishter's light to flow into? They're called Chesed Yamina. The Chesed is the Eibishter's right hand, and so forth. So b'meile, the candle, the fire needs a wick. The neshama needs a goof. Ein Sof needs a kli. And what's the kli? The mitzvahs. The whole body is included on the right side. That the greatest garment is tzedakah. So Mela Zazeh, when a person gives tzedakah on a madrega of Nikeva, the tzedakah lasts forever, but it's a female lasting forever. And that's the idea that your tzedakah becomes the keli, and the asad lava you're going to get as a schar for the Ein Sof. Says the Rebbe, this is the pshat in Chazal. Tzedakah is not paid only according to chesed, and he means to say you cannot get the bracha for the tzedakah you did only according to the kli, and the kli is the chesed. Shenema zero lachem tzedakah, when you seed for yourself tzedakah, kitzur lefi chesed, you harvest according to the chesed. When you do tzedakah, you're planting seeds, which is going to get you a harvest of Ein Sof. But kitzur, you're only able to harvest according to the chesed, according to the keli that you made. Sha'akotze, that the harvest, who gilui hazariya atmuna barat, is revealing the seeding that was hidden into the earth, like it doesn't negate the kedesh shemeches. Okay, and when you harvest it has to come down into kelim, and the kelim are the tzedakah that we did. Says the tzedakah and has the righteousness and kind of the Jewish people in times of Golos. And of course, you know the famous order from the Rebbe in Tanya Perek Lamed Vov. It says the Iker Schar is the Fimasei Versen called Meshach Zman HaGolos. Alter Rebbe says, what about Meshach Zman HaBayis? We didn't do any mitzvahs. And here also it says, yeah, Stock of a Chaz is Zman HaGolos and Zman HaBayis Nit. And the Rebbe answers Zman HaGolos Halam is Vestedem, so the Iker HaVayis from the Yechidah Shabbat. It's more Bechira. And he connects it to the Hilchas Tshuva. Why the Rambam connects Tshuva to Bechira Chavshis? Because Tshuva is Yechidah, and that's the real expression of Bechira, and the same is true in Zman HaGolos. Because that Allah is Vestedem, you have a Bechira from Yechidah Shabbat. He Tmunav in a status is hidden and covered over. At Zman HaTchiyah till the time of Tchiyas HaMesim. Sheyislabish v'yod, it will manifest and reveal itself. Eidin Seiv Baruch Hu, the infinite light of the Eibishter. Be'el Mazeh Agashmi, the physical planet. And there's two madregas in it. The first madrega in it is, of course, the Iyov Agamei Echad Hashem is one with his vessels. Hein Bechinas Kel the spheres of Atzilos. And through the vessel of 10 spheres of Atzilos, they didn't suffer from Atzilos come down into this world. That means Mamalek Al-Almin. And what's the Keli for the Malek Al-Almin? Tzid Kosei Emedes La'ad, the mitzvahs we do now. The Kol Shkein V'Kalachem, and how much more so? Ein Seiv Baruch Hu Seiv of Kalalmin, the infinite light of the Eibishter, which is called Seiv of Kalalmin, which is Milmayla B'Chidas Atzilos, which is higher and even higher than Atzilos. So there's close two madregas of Eid, which you get as a schar for tzedakah, a schar of Mamalek Kalalmin, and a schar for Seiv of Kalalmin. If I may say, the schar of Mamalek Kalalmin is for the Kavanas HaMitzvah, and the schar of Seiv of Kalalmin is for the Maisa HaMitzvah, but you need a kli. Ulafichach Nikas Tzedakah Loshen Nekeva. That's why tzedakah is feminine. It's because that the righteousness that we do stands forever. Translates the Rebbe, Shemekabelas, that the ma'isa tzedakah we did is the keli which receives ha'ara meidin seiv baruch hu, a light from the eidin seiv of kol almin, ha'mislabish b'techa be'el mazeh, which manifests in it in this world. Hagashmi, it's physical but manatchiyah. So when you do tzedakah because somebody else inspired you, you have control over the vessels. And when you have control over the vessels, the light's going to come into them. But you only have control over the vessels. You don't have a control over the light itself. The Ein Sof, side the Mamali, inside the Seviv, which is the Schar of mitzvahs. We get lost in love, we cannot control the light by itself. We can only control the light indirectly because we have access to the Kli. The Kli is ours. So you understand? But that's only when you do tzedakah by somebody else's inspiration. It says the Alter Rebbe, however, it said, righteousness will walk in front of you. Who? Lashon Zachar. Right? Is masculine. What does this mean? There's a different kind of tzedakah. What is the second kind of tzedakah? He means this is the meed of kindness. Hamiseired is b'leiv ha'adam, which is aroused in the heart of man, ma'atzmei, from himself, without somebody else. And how is it? Idea is sated us by an arousal of avas havaya, by loving the Eibishter b'kriyah shema. Uladavka, by the desire to be one with him. V'lim say nav shebe'echad, to sacrifice one's life when he says echad. And you serve Hashem in an infinite way. When you daven and you arouse in yourself an infinite love for the Eibishter b'chol ma'idach, which comes from Yechidah Shabbat Nefesh. So what do you do about it? You do tzedakah. But when the tzedakah comes from your own arousal, that's called masculine tzedakah. Self-inspired, personally initiated tzedakah. You have an arousal from below, and as one face mirrors another, which goes on godliness, atzilus, the Eibishter. Reciprocate what we give when we show kindness, love to the Eibishter. The Eibishter shows love to us. It creates an arousal from above. It brings on the finite lights of the Eibishter and also the infinite lights of the Eibishter. Lamata mata lower and even lower to this physical world to be revealed as we explained in last year's letter. But what's the chap? The chap is that when you give tzedakah by your own initiative, you have masculine tzedakah. What does it mean, masculine tzedakah? You lead it before yourself. In other words, you draw and bring down lead and bring down yourself. The supernal face, from higher than the physical world. Meaning to say, when your tzedakah is masculine, which means you're self-inspired, or your ma'aseh, you give tzedakah, you make other people give, you have access to the Ein Sof itself. Not only you control the kli of the Ein Sof, and the light comes automatically, but you control the light itself. So there's an enormous difference between a person who stam gives tzedakah and a person who's self-inspired to give tzedakah. Stam giving tzedakah means you have a kli for Ein Sof. And self-inspired tzedakah, and especially when you make other people give, you own the Ein Sof itself. Now it's time to be brief. Hashem should not prevent them from getting any good. God should be good to the good. Those who are straight in their hearts, as his desire of the one who seeks your best interest. A very nice conclusion to the Yeres HaTshuva, the Yinad Tzedakah. And somebody gave me a letter from the Rebbe. And this is the Yeres HaKedesh. Oh, this is my time from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe, when they made a siyum on it, the Rebbe explains the connection. At the beginning of the Yeres HaKedesh was about tefillah. At the end of the Yeres HaKedesh is about tzedakah. But at the end of the Yeres HaKedesh he adds that there's an inyan of tzedakah which is inspired by tefillah itself. When the tefillah it reaches the Chiddush HaNefesh, it inspires tzedakah. And that's the connection between the end of the Yeres HaKedesh and the beginning of the Yeres HaKedesh. Okay.